stop. Maybe last. I know it's the last day party, but we save the best for last, right?
Yes.
Any Capcom fans in the house? Any DuckTales fans in the house? My name is Francis Maurer, run the best for Capcom. It's my pleasure to present you this very informative and interesting panel. We like doing these. We have those others where it's very marketing. We're showing you buy this, buy this, buy this. But what's going to happen here is we're going to bring you all the creators of the game. And you'll find out in depth every step of the way from animation to concept to music. And then we'll ask you to buy it. Okay? But after you check out this awesome panel, be sure to please come down to the Capcom booth. 2215, right in A Hall, and play the game, jump in Scrooge McDuck's money bin, and get a DuckTales pin, and all of that other good stuff. Ready? So, without further ado, woohoo, let's go!
So before we get into that, I mean, of course this is going to be, we have to do a sing-along, we do it every time we do a panel. But this is really going to be probably the last group one we ever do before the game comes out, so I don't know if we're ever going to do this again. So. This being the last day, I know it's early in the morning, I would like everybody to stand up. I'm going to stand up.
Let's do this.
I'm going to sing this. I need to be very emphatic. I need to hear some really loud boo-boos, and then, and this is the last one we're going to do.
We're all going to sing along, right?
Yes.
And we're going to wake up all the other panels. All right?
Sorry.
Oops. What's that? All
right.
Y'all know the words. Can we hit the lights? Alright, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Places, airplanes, faces of Duckburg. Might solve a mystery or rewrite history. DuckTales, woo! Every day they're out there making DuckTales, woo! Tales of daring do adventure, DuckTales, woo! There's the danger, watch behind you. There's a stranger out to find you. What to do, just grab onto some DuckTales, woo! Every day they're out there making DuckTales, woo! Tales of daring do adventure, DuckTales, woo! And now the ponytails of the cocktails of DuckTales, woo!
Thank you very much. That was absolutely the most participation we've had on that sing-along. Even though we've had bigger panels, and it's glad to happen on the very first panel on the very last day of the Comic-Con. So, I know she's been coming to Comic-Con since the first time Capcom's ever been here. We only had a card table about this big with an arcade machine and a table full of swag, and we just got bigger and bigger. So going on to the panel here, I don't want to have too much to say. I want to hand it more to the content creators. My name is Ray Jimenez. I'm the producer at Capcom. I'm the one working on this project. A lot of people have asked why DuckTales, why now? This is actually something Capcom and Disney have been wanting to do for a long time. Don't ask me why, but it takes a long time for these kinds of deals to work out. But I'm just glad that we were able to do it. The last piece of the puzzle before we started was getting an awesome developer to do it. As you'll find out, WayForward is the best game developer we could have possibly have done. These guys are filled with Disney DNA. They love DuckTales even before we bought them, so they love DuckTales just as much as anyone here does. So I'm going to hand it over to Matt Bozon, who's the creative director of WayForward. He's going to give you a background.
So just real quick history of the studio. So we've been in business for 23 years. We are in Valencia, California. I'm the creative director there. I'm also one of the founding members. We've been doing games on just about every platform forever. The things that make WayForward, what it is we have a focus on character-to-character animation. We like to get involved in storytelling and building those those characters up. We also have our classic gameplay sensibilities kind of form the core of what we do. We're kind of a ground-up design studio. In other words, we like to figure out what makes the game work, and then we like to apply visuals to that after the fact instead of the other way around, which is the way a lot of other places do it. So, yeah. So also, we really have I put a lot of emphasis on audio. I think that audio is a third of the experience. I really do believe that. So that's why we have all these people representing the game here. Yeah. So yeah, why don't we move on to the next? Well, that was our new building in Valencia you saw with the photoshopped balloons. So yeah, we do a lot of licensed games. When we take on a licensed game, we really get into it. We want to really make the most of every opportunity. We really do love our licensed games. And there's a lot of times you figure out what's the potential of the opportunity here and how can we try to do even more with it than is expected, and that was definitely the case with DuckTales. Some of the titles you can see here that we worked on before, you might have played some of them. I don't think we're showing Double Dragon Neon up there, but that was last year. We've got A Boy and His Blob, Contra 4. Oh, nice. Yeah, Contra 4 up there. We've got Batman Brave and the Bold we did a couple years ago. Silent Hill from last year. Just a ton of titles. I think we lost count. We're somewhere around 200 some odd titles at this point. And then we're also doing our own stuff too, which we'll do in the next one. So we publish our own games. The Mighty series, we're doing more digital download now that we can kind of do our own thing. But we haven't stopped with licensed games by any means. And then recently released Shantae on Virtual Console that came out just a couple of days ago. So, yeah.
And that was actually published by Capcom.
Yeah,
that was not the first Capcom game.
Yeah, that was our first one. In fact, yeah, that was years ago. And then also our first ever licensed game on Super Nintendo was a Michi game. So we've been a good choice for Disney properties and things like that.
Speaking of Disney games.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let's go straight to DuckTales. One of the things we love about this game is, everybody knows it's one of just the greatest games of the 8-bit NES era, and Capcom had so many good hits back at that time. We just loved those games. They were just ruling the NES, and DuckTales is one of the games that showed all of us how to make a great licensed game. I don't know if you guys remember when licensed games were, like, wow, it's almost.
Well, who here likes the original DuckTales NES version? So you know why it's so great.
Yeah, I mean it's fantastic.
If not,
we've got you can choose any level in any order. It's very similar to Mega Man, and back in what was it, 1989, I think, when the original game came out. Mm-hmm. It's like, wow, I get that gameplay and I get a character that I know and love, which was a big deal then. So, yeah. So, and then the other thing that made it great was the pogo jump. There you go. Yeah, and it's something that you can see a lot in that day when there was one really great core mechanic, and that thing was used over and over again through the entire game. You just kept finding new, interesting ways of using it, and that's how we make a lot of our products still today. So we'll move on to the next one. All right. So when cracking open this game, it's a tricky one. I mean, there's a lot of elements to this product that there seems to be a storyline that runs through it. There's Magica the Spell is in there, and there are Beagle Boys, and Flintark Longgold is there at the end of the game, and you're finding treasures, but there's not a whole lot of setup. You've got a couple of characters who are
it's kind of mysterious.
Yeah, it's a little hard to tell what's going on. So one of the things we wanted to do is, I guess I should just give a little background. The comic you see on the screen there, the Land Beneath the Ground, that's actually the first comic book that I ever saw as a kid. So Scrooge McDuck was, left a huge impression on me. When they redid that story, excuse me, in the DuckTales TV show, I remember as a young adult going, oh my gosh, they're remaking the Carl Barks stories in TV show form. And so we want to do the same thing with the game. Is go, all right, they already told the story twice, let's tell it a third time. Clearly this level, the Mines level, was based on this comic. So why don't we go in there, figure out what's going on with the original story, and then with the TV episode, and then let's kind of tell it again, maybe a third way, you know, it doesn't exactly parallel either of them, but I think we did a pretty good job.
I think you guys did a great job of just basically making the game itself really reflect the show.
Yep, so then other things we did is, you know, to read the story, I guess I'm trying to figure out a good way to explain kind of how we went about pulling content. I guess what we kind of figured that the original team had a bunch of reference. I mean, you've got stuff like Scrooge in the red jacket, instead of the blue jacket. You've got the Terry Fermies and things like that. So and we pulled just a combination of everything to try to make it, you know, kind of make it our own and do it again. Yeah. Anything? Yeah, I can listen if you want to add. Okay. Let's see. So, yeah. So taking this Scrooge design. I mean, this is like a classic sprite. I mean, it's one of the coolest sprites ever. So it's already great design. We want to figure out how we're going to make this in 2D and in HD. So we kept, the same shape and feel. What we didn't want to do is just exactly trace over it. If you notice, it's not a one-for-one trace over. We've seen that done several times, and results are kind of all over the place. With this one, we want to go, all right. So this is like a functional sprite first and foremost. So we want to be very faithful, to what was there before, with the intent that the original developers had, and then just try to embellish on it and make it extremely readable. We did change it to the blue, back to the blue jacket, because it seemed like that's what everybody would want to see. But we also worked from the collision box, what it would need to be functionally, which is a square character with a nice center line, so you know where you're going to land. And his cane is like that. I actually think the original 8-bit Mega Man, his foot is kind of like that too. There's tons of platforming when you're airborne. You're like, all right, I'm up here. Where's the center line and where to land?
Yeah, so that shape is really key to making the platform very precise.
Yeah,
make sure you carry that over.
Yeah, it's a very grid-based game. Everything you do in that game when you're moving around, it's like maybe there's a treasure here, maybe this is a breakaway block, or maybe you have to use this to hit that. Everything that was everything that was established here with Scrooge, this really set kind of the foundation for how we're going to treat the entire rest of the game. So once we had this established, we moved on full into production. If you want to explain that, this is the director of the game last time.
No.
You want to talk about the? Oh, we didn't get to the Karl Barks style. I'm sorry, I just went right on.
You kind of talked about it.
I guess I did talk about it a little bit. If you guys don't know, Karl Barks is the guy who actually created Scrooge and a lot of the other characters like Magic of the Spell. And his influence is all of the TV show he wrote. I think all of the episodes from season 1, if I remember right. I'm pretty sure. He created the Beagle Boys. We have more Beagle Boys in this game than were in the original game. Let's see. So we actually did have a Karl Barks style Scrooge that we played around with at the beginning to see how much Karl Barks and how much TV Scrooge are we going to have, because I touched on it, I probably repeated myself a couple of times, but apologies, but we really do have a combination of Karl Barks Scrooge and then Disney Scrooge and then actually original Capcom team Scrooge. All three of those things have to be mixed together. That's exactly what we did here. So if you notice, the Scrooge on the left from the show, he's like 3 heads tall. The Capcom one is like 2, like Mario blocks tall, right? And so our new one needed to speak that same language, and that's why we landed on this design. So, and now it's actually time to go to Austin, right?
Hi, I'm Austin. I'm the director on DuckTales. Thank you. So just leading off where Matt left off. So here's an example of an enemy where taking Scrooge a little easier is a lot more reference to work off of. But with what we call the hockey duck in the Himalayas level, which you can go play now downstairs. Our art team, the animators, did some designs right off the bat, and the one on the left you can see looks very, very close to the original, and then they wanted to play with it more, so they took the inspiration from the Mighty Ducks hockey mask, which just makes perfect sense. Here, why not? And Disney loved it, so and you can also see we tried goalie pads on his legs, which aren't the original, but they just added so much more character to him, and he's a lot of fun to see skating around in the game. Another character is the bee. where, you know, the sprite doesn't look a lot like the actual bee itself, but our animators, Diego and Sasha, they, one of them, I forget which one, basically said that, you know, Walt Disney used to draw this particular bee. As you can see on the right, it was like a award of merit, and he would draw them and give them to his either employees or something. I'm sorry, I don't know the exact story, but you know, we had to pull from a lot of different places to try to like get animals in a show about animals to feel Disney. So that was a fun challenge.
Actually, if you can go back to the hockey guy really quick.
Yep.
And can anyone kind of see where that hockey mask came from? It was very. Did you?
Oh, yeah, I did.
I was falling asleep.
I'm sorry, I'm so boring.
I know, I'm just. Sorry.
It's early. We appreciate y'all being here so early.
I'm just a class.
So onto the animation, and so one of the things that was as important for, you know, matching the feel of the sprite shape was the posing of the animations. You know, for Scrooge, for example, his walk, it took about 3 tries to get his walk to feel the same way as the original one. You have to bear with me with PowerPoint, they don't play things all that great, you have to click to loop. But, you know, we wanted to make sure, the original animation was just like 3 drawings, and, you know, for ours we had, you know, quadruple that, I think. So, you know, we want to make sure that the keys have the same pose, the same feel, and, you know, stay very, very, very true to the NES game. That was a big, very important aspect for us. I'm muting that, you know. It doesn't sound very good, but and one of the first things they tell you in animation is you need to act it out. If you don't know how to animate it, you act it out. And so I had to go act things out for the animators. We met every day, you know, for like an hour, and went over all the animations in the game, because it just really helps to get a feel for, like, you know, what you're going to do. And so you have to put yourself out there and be embarrassed and show it to everybody. I don't usually have a cane. No, we actually got the cane for the. I want everybody here to go home and describe how to hold a cane to someone if you want them to hold it in different ways. It's like a bad game of charades. So we actually went and bought a cane because Scrooge holds the cane in all sorts of different ways. I was actually noting when we did the cover that, you know, if you hold the cane one way, it can be a gun, and if you move your hand up, it can be a sword. So just having the prop just helps work your way through all that. So here's an example of the very first step of animation. This is what we call a rough animation. The animator does it, you know, very loosely, just tries to get the timing, the general posture down, but it's not perfect, it's not accurate. And this came from just having the cane, just twirling it like that felt really neat, and so we decided, hey, that'd make a great animation for a long idle, which is when the characters stand there for like 5 seconds or more and, you know, waiting for you to play. The next step after that is what we call tie down, where you take that same rough animation, trace over it, get a nice clean line. Because then what you're ready to do after that is hand it off to be colored and the final line weight applied. So here you can see the final version of it in all its amazing glory. And just here's some other animations to show you. Like here's our idle. If my computer doesn't freeze. No, it'll go. There you go. It's got too much power. There's too much awesome.
Well, I think what's really important here is that this is
we'll go into this one.
Way forward style is basically animating just the same techniques that were done in the old school shows.
Yeah.
So it's not like the fancy flash animation. They're really drawing themselves over and over again and animating them.
Yeah, everything is hand drawn, and on the left you can see, you know, the animators when they first do it, they have to, you know, put a lot of motion on it to get the feel. But once we get it in game, the motion's all handled by the game. So that's why the colored Scrooge is not animating or up and down as much as the one on the left. And then for character, this is the Cave Slug from African Mines, for a character that doesn't have a skeleton. Come on, mouse. We used a bunch of circles, you know, so he's really fun to see in action. So then, for the level art, you know, we were having a difficult time trying to match the DuckTales style exactly. And I went on the internet to search for, you know, what was the DuckTales look, and I came across the art of Mike Peraza, who worked on the original DuckTales show. He was the art director for Little Mermaid. And I contacted him to see, hey, can we, you know, maybe get access to your DuckTales art? And he offered himself to just work for us on the game. And so we hired him, we contracted to make our backgrounds, to do our background layouts, which is the pencil style. So he made this for the game. So the duck bird you see at the intro of the game, this is a duck bird made especially for our version of DuckTales. He drew this. And so the first step is the pencil layout. So he would do this, and then the next step after that, obviously, is going to color. And in the same way you would do with Disney, feature film or TV, we had a background painter, and Rick Evans is a veteran of Disney, worked at Disney TV for 10 years, and we hired him on, and he did all this amazing style matching of the original show. So this is his treatment of it. And what's really interesting is, for people familiar with, games, when you have parallax, you need to have more information there for all the different layers that go behind it. So Rick had to kind of retrain himself to paint from back to front rather than front to back. So if you look at the example way on the right, there's way more building there than you would normally see because as the buildings move, you want to make sure there's not a big gaping hole there. And then this is a final in-game screenshot of the intro section of the game.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. That's the title scroll of the game, and as soon as you press start, that scene transitions right to the beginning of the game. So it's not just a pretty looking thing, it's part of the game. So.
And we approached exteriors and interiors a little differently. For exteriors, we treated them the same way we would have on Boyden's Blob or Blood Rain, where they're basically a flat plane with the art applied directly to them. But for the interiors, we did it a little bit different. We started the same process, where here's another Peraza drawing, and then here's Rick's treatment on the painting of it, and it looks spectacular. It's just something that could go in the show. And so rather than just having a just a piece of concept art that maybe do something with, our artists try to interpret it, we actually use the textures from these paintings and apply them to our 3D models. And so we match them very accurately, use the textures from the actual painting process. And once we get it in game and get our lighting on it, it was an approach we wanted to try because games in the past we made it look a little flat, and we wanted to experiment with giving a little more depth, and we're really, really happy with the way it turned out. Here's just another couple of drawings just for the fun of it, between Mike and Rick. Here's through his office. And then here's a shot of Himalayas, which you can see if you go play the game. So just talking about level design briefly, for all the levels in the game, we started with the NES layout as our basis, and because we wanted to make the game a little bit longer, have a little more fun with the things that are there. In some of these areas in the game, they're very short, very little to do. So we blocked out, keeping all the things that are there, keeping them the same and keeping them in the same spot. Putting in some more areas. You can see here all the gray. The very left, it's the cinematic entrance. Who here's played Transylvania downstairs on the show? Yeah, so you'll recognize this. So there's the cinematic entry area, and then there's that big gray area to the right where you go outside. We thought, well, let's go outside and face the ghost rather than walking in this upper level. So it's just a small example of just keeping all the areas that were in the original game in the same spot and having all their treasures there.
Yeah, so I think it was a really great to be able to add areas where you can add where you do the cutscenes and the story, and also expand upon it. It was really cool in the NES version, just add more of it.
And it's neat because there's a lot more hidden treasures too. So you'll be finding treasures you'd never have found before, and sometimes they're in spots you think they might be. It's pretty fun. One of our level designers, who's here today, would make it. I would come to his desk and play and be like, oh my gosh, I think there might be a treasure there, and I go and find it. I get so excited that there was a treasure there. And it was really great because I love the exploration gameplay. And then I'll pass it on to Jake, our audio guy.
So, I'm Jake. I did the music and some of the sound design for this amazing game here, and it's kind of hard to talk about the technical side of things because mostly what I do is I just sit down at my desk and I sort of black out for a while, and then I wake up with a nosebleed and it's done. So because I don't even know what to talk about. But I'll give you a reenactment of basically what happened when I started on the project. I come in, I'm like, Captain, it would be imprudent for you to trust me with the monumental task of rearranging the moon theme. Should I fail, it would bring dishonor upon my Klingon heritage. And then Austin's like, Mr. Worf, I have full confidence in your ability to pull this off competently. And we started, I was a captain, and we started making out. And so, basically what happened is I tried to do exactly what they did with the artwork, with the music, and just make it like the original, but more. One of my big pet peeves, I don't know if anybody here has actually followed any of my history with like game remixes and whatnot. If you're on OC Remix, yeah, who's heard of OC Remix? Anyone? Yeah, Alright, I was one of the first fools up in there, way back when. And so I've had a pet peeve for like 15 years about when a musician takes a piece of music from a classic game and makes it like you know, a totally different thing, and interprets it to the point that you can't even recognize the original, right? It's on my nerves. So, but I've been hearing the arrangements of this game in my head since I was like 7, and so I knew exactly what to do from the start. Like it was. I didn't even have to think about it. It's like, okay, after it's going to be like a James Brown funk jam. It's got to be. Like Himalaya sounds this way in my head, and it has since I was a kid. So it was very easy to get into the process of doing this because I was a fan long before I was a professional. And I think that honestly goes for most of these people up here. We grew up with this stuff. So we've been thinking about what we would do if we got a chance to like, make it new since we were kids. So the inspiration is pretty much, you know, it's spoken for. I did try to incorporate some of the original sort of chiptune-y sort of sounds from the original. And it's every song is pretty much note for note a recreation. It's not like, you know, I tried my best to avoid the impulse to make everything dubstep. I only did that in a couple parts. You know, I had to have some fun. But yeah, for the most part, I think a big thing that did change a lot was we used a lot of the iconic sound effects. Like the pogo sound is in there. You know, if you've ever seen video previews, you know a lot of the original sounds are in there. But this time around, I didn't have to do everything myself. I had a team of like super awesome dudes who were making sound effects for the whole thing. And so we gave it the whole AAA treatment. You know, when Scrooge gets his plasma rifle, it sounds really relevant and up to date. You know, full fidelity right there. So. Really, honestly, I can just say when you play the game, there's a sound test, so feel free to go in there and peruse and you know, enjoy the tracks that we put together.
And actually, you know, I have the fortunate job of doing a lot of media interaction for this game, and a lot of people I've talked to in the media are like, "Wow, that's a really cool 8-bit soundtrack." But I think that just speaks to Jake's styles. What he's able to do is take fully, you know, orchestrated sound set of tools and arrange them in a way that still sounds like intrinsically 8-bit, but it's not. So
yeah, because you can hear like when you listen to the original, you can hear what they're going for. And so I have all these crazy modern studio tools at my disposal. I can make the quality there and sort of pull off of your original thing. Let me give you one little anecdote in the middle.
Yeah.
I was at E3 and there was a DuckTales booth, and I just kind of walked by. I wasn't like hovering around there; I didn't want to be like creepy, so more than usual. So I go by and I'm like looking at it, and there's like a bunch of people playing it. 4 different groups of people, not just 4 different people in a group, but 4 totally separate, unrelated people came up like, "Oh man, DuckTales! Oh, that looks cool. Man, the music in that game was really good way back when. Man, I hope they didn't screw it up." I'm like, they probably did. don't get your hopes up, guys. But I redid that movie like 6 times. That's more than I've ever redid.
Yeah, I feel bad. The pressure on Jake on that is pretty intense.
And I just have to apologize that we didn't have enough business space to fit it into the game. So, sorry. That's
Moving on.
Where we going?
So as you may or may not know, I hope you guys know, Disney did a fantastic job of being able to bring every surviving cast member for the show. The fantastic actors that are working on it. I personally haven't done too much experience of working with like animated voice actors, but man, listening to these guys talk is amazing. For those that are no longer with us, unfortunately, you know, Disney was able to using their own network of actors, able to find actors that really embody the voice and the spirit of these guys, and have them basically voice the voice actors. A lot of these names you might know already. Here we have, first of all, this is Eric Balza. As you can see, he's been a veteran for years, and he's currently voiced in a lot of shows that you're familiar with for decades. He's doing Fenton and Gizmoduck. So I'm just going to go ahead and hand it off to Eric, and I know a lot of the folks here are kind of curious. The whole process of starting with voice acting and how you get ready.
Hi guys, my name's Eric. I'm a voice actor.
You have to apologize if my voice craps out. I've been screaming all week. I'm sure you guys have too. But by round of applause, who here remembers the Gizmoduck catchphrase? I think it's only right that on the count of three we all say it together. 1, 2, 3. Blather and blatherskite! I'm Gizmoduck, 200 pounds of romping, stomping bombs and destruction. Forward, oh! When I got the original audition for this in the old email, I like crap my pants, I swear. Again, much like these guys, I grew up watching this show, and it meant a whole lot to me. And it is crazy that they did get a lot of the original cast members, and I've worked with actually definitely Frank Welker and June Foray, and yeah, they were still top notch, still going strong, and to know that I could be working and have my name even just cut and pasted into the same crap. Yeah. Welker's I don't think he's from this planet, but and I fed June for a pecan pie Looney Tunes session.
Oh, hello, sweetie. Can you cut me some pie?
But, as it goes, you get something like this as a voice actor. I actually got the actual sides for it, and they incorporate an actual MP3 sound clip of the original performance portrayed by Hamilton Camp, who did Gizmoduck's voice, who unfortunately is no longer with us. But you just never know what you can or can't do until you're put to the test. And I didn't know I could do that. Hamilton Camp was a country singer. An old white man. I'm a little Filipino kid from Toronto, Canada. Who would have guessed that I could have done something like that, huh? Very bizarre. But yeah, and of course, before he becomes Gizmoduck, he's Fenton, so he's a bit more, there's a bit of a character difference there. There's the more heroic type, and then he's more of the mild-mannered accountant for Scrooge McDuck. So Fenton's more I want a job with status, recognition, a boss who'll remember my name. But most of all, I want a date with Gendra D. It's just one of those things that's a dream job, and I know during the session, Austin was there, and I started out as a character layout artist in animation before I became a voiceover artist. So I look at all the hard work that these guys do and have done for this game, and I don't give it up for them. A lot of work goes into it. You can really tell that you guys care.
Yeah, I've worked on a lot of retro style projects with a lot of studios, and these guys really have been able to put more inherent love in the project than I knew a studio was able to do. It really shows the thing. I hope you guys enjoy it.
Yeah. So as a voiceover artist, you see the art, and you're like, gosh, if these guys are putting 100% in the music and everything that goes into it, I better not drop the ball. But yeah.
All right, thanks, Eric. So going on, we do have a little special treat for you guys. Jake has got something for you guys. This is something. Yeah, not the exact version that's going to be.
Yeah, this isn't from the game,
but this is
technically.
Kind of.
No. It's a version that I made specifically for Comic-Con. But I left my evil twin and my sustain pedal at home, so it's going to be a duet between me and my laptop.
And please post this on YouTube if you want to see this. Right?
sick. He came over and he was like hugging me and crying. It was like a moment. It was pretty special actually. It's like no joke.
Yeah, tell the story.
So yeah, Jake early on said, "Well, I want to do a piano version. I want to do a piano version." I'm like, okay. And then he sent it. He just sent it to me, and he's like, "Oh, I got it done. And check it out." And you know, we're working late, and I started playing it, and I just started crying. I was crying into my hands, just uncontrolled. I'm kind of tearing up right now because it's a it's a beautiful version of the song. It's not the one that's in the level, so you guys got a special treat. No one has gotten yet. So, but I would. I felt the way I say it is like I'm saying goodbye to my childhood. It represents everything that's been working on this game. Capcom's been amazing. Disney have just been so amazing to work with, and the game has been just so much fun. Basically, yes. And so a couple nights just at the office, just working late, you know, probably 10 p.m., I just put on the song coming out of my speakers and just played it. And people would just start gathering, like, from other parts of the building, like, what is this? And I didn't. Well, pretty much, but then they were just like, they were tearing up, and like, oh my god, like, this is so beautiful, like, it was so sad. So, you know, we want to make sure that, you know, can we quickly say where it is in the it is in the game somewhere.
It's in the credits.
It's in the credits. So it's the last thing you see, and I stopped crying at it eventually.
Yeah, like going to the end, it's like, thank you for playing.
Yeah.
I was just annoyed by it now, like most of us are.
So yeah, it's pretty incredible. I'm very happy to have it.
Please share on YouTube. I'd really like people to, even though it's in the game, and we want to encourage you to buy the game, never see it. We want to share that with everyone before, so you kind of get that. I know it's a chilling effect to hear it live, but I really like people to do that.
Without all the mistakes, so.
So, you know, we only have like 10 minutes left, so I'd like to go on to Q&A. Some contact information for those of us that are kind enough to give it for you guys. Tweet. I don't have Twitter account, but several folks do, and they're graciously putting up if you have questions and all ourselves. But would like to open this up to Q&A. I will say that before you guys ask any questions, don't waste your question on what's next, because from the Capcom side, I would love to do another thing, whatever that thing may be. But we need to make DuckTales Remastered a success. The more success it is, the better chance I have a job of doing another one. So please, we have 10 minutes for questions. Please line up. We'll take them in order. I hope we get to everybody. But, sir, first.
Hi, I have two quick questions. My first one's for Jake.
Little like this.
Oh, sorry. Jake wins. Will your CD be available commercially?
As of now, there's no plans for it, but we're kind of talking back and forth. There's a lot of legality involved with, you know, it's a big license. Yeah. So if they let us, we'd like to put it up on like SoundCloud or something, maybe. You know, we'll try to get it out there, but you know, no promises at this point. But we're always trying.
Very real quick. Will there be a hard non-digital copy of the game being released?
A hard what?
An actual physical copy of the game.
So for the PS3, we do have a box version with some of the digital voucher input. I know it's not the disc that folks would want, but we've heard a lot of that input, so that I'll take that information back, and if it's possible to do it and it makes sense, we will definitely will, but I can't make any promises now.
But the empty box of voucher code will be available?
Yeah, for the PS3 only, unfortunately.
Oh, that's fine.
It will come with a pin. I would have loved to do it for other SKUs, but that was out of Capcom's control.
All right, thank you very much.
Hey, what's up?
Hi there. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about working with Alan Young to reprise Scrooge.
Not me.
Alan was amazing. Like he was incredibly spry. He has an amazing sense of humor.
For those that don't know, Alan Young is the voice of Scrooge.
Alan Young voices Scrooge. He's 90-something years old now. Yeah, a lot of people. He says the number one fan mail he gets is from Mr. Ed. Still, but everyone should go hunt down his mailing address and send him a letter to say how much Scrooge means to you, because I think that would be really neat. He'd really appreciate that.
Do you know what he was saying about his accent?
He said, man, if my family back home could hear me doing this accent, they'd be really mad at me because it doesn't sound as strong as it should. So he had to keep everything very, very kind of subdued, I guess. But yeah, he was just just amazing.
Was there some kind of like magic moment with Alan Young?
One of the magic moments was when God, there was a couple. He was just cracking jokes, or like, oh, you have 3 cubic acres of cash. It's like, man, I wish I had that much money. It's like, because you forget, like, oh yeah, this is the guy playing Scrooge. But like, when the guy in the booth, I forget his name, was just asking all this info, and he's like, you're asking me too much stuff. He's like, what's your social security number? And Alan Young rattled it off. And he's like, yeah, I got it way back in 1930, whatever. It's like, oh my gosh. So, like when he came over from overseas. But yeah, he was just such a pleasure to work with. So I mean, yeah. As long as it's off the cuff, I guess.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
My question's a two-parter, so I'll be real quick. Many of us who want to play this game have obviously seen the show and, played the game. What do you guys plan to do to attract a younger audience, someone who's never watched the show, or the only time they've ever seen a Nintendo Entertainment System is behind the glass case?
Yeah, that's a hard one. That's more...
Parents of kids love DuckTales.
Yeah. So that's actually a way that's going to happen too. Like when you talk to folks, the parents are the ones that are introducing.
Yeah, we did that. We did that with our kids. When I got the DVDs, like, you guys are old enough, you got to watch this show. It's great. And when we did the game, there was a lot of what we were doing is we're going, okay, let's assume nobody knows who these people are. Like, we remember some kids early on being like, how do you select the kids? Because they're the main characters, right? Like right, the Grandpa Duck.
Yeah.
You gotta play Grandpa Duck. Why not the kids? So we had to re-educate people. So I think that a lot of the way that the story and some of that stuff is set up, especially with the new intro to the game, kind of brings you in. And since you've never seen or heard of DuckTales, and maybe you know Donald Duck, but you don't know all these other characters, so that's kind of what we do. So people will go out and get the game, and then the game will take.
Well, I don't want to underestimate the power of children too. I mean, I have a friend whose son is 5 and through the pop magic of YouTube, he's found DuckTales on his own. He's like, hey Dad, what is this? It's DuckTales. I love it. It's cool. So
yeah, I have some family friends too. They go to the library and find a bunch of DuckTales books. Now they're just kids are DuckTales fans. So
also, kids are geniuses. Like, you put a kid in front of the game. We give our niece and nephew copies of all our games, and they just figure them out and like fall in love with them.
As good as me.
Yeah.
And the second question, real quick, what are your buying prices for turnips today?
I know. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, let me know, because I need my
Turnip
turnips.
prices. They were 30 last night, right?
Right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Animal Crossing.
It's right now.
Come on, this guy.
Hi, I'm Felix. Great job, guys. I was wondering, remakes carry a lot of expectations with them. I just had the opportunity to play a remake a while ago. I was like, oh my god, no, it's not the same.
I have the other ones I've worked on.
You discover how much attention to detail you have because you remember and memory plays with you. So how you guys set up the requirements, the rules when it came to those pretty big expectations?
Well, that's a really good question. I think one of the things I didn't touch on that I had been touching on at E3 was one of the first things we did is our engine runs natively out of PC, so we can run it off an Xbox controller just plugged in through USB. And I was running our version of the game next to an emulation of the game side by side simultaneously off the same controller. So the first thing we did was we created a level of Transylvania that matched the Transylvania in the original game block for block, and then got Scrooge's mobility to match like identically. That's not a real word, I keep using it. Identical-ish. And so that was the first step, and after that everything else just comes into play because we really find that like getting that mobility is the most important thing. If it doesn't feel right while you're doing the character out, nothing else will work. And so once you have that right, it's easier to find all the other wrong things. And we just just went piece by piece until it all worked. And our level designer had to go through every single level in the game and find every single treasure on all 3 difficulties, because they're different on all 3 difficulties. So it was a lot of research, it was a lot of gameplay, and just a lot of focus on playing the original game.
Did you ever touch on the original levels? You've actually had them in-game for a while, right?
Yeah, well, I think it was just Transylvania. Like we had the full Transylvania, the original version, in our game first before we did our version of it.
And that was just one of the major project, or game features was that it has to play like the original.
Yep.
Yeah, it's feel like the original.
Yeah, it's very authentic. I mean, even the background I have for Duckburg, like we didn't just try to look at Duckburg and then redraw it ourselves. Right. It's the guy who drew Duckburg in the first place, so it is the Duckburg. So see that through the entire development.
I think the easier answer is, we're you. We're right there with you. We get angry when we play these remakes and they suck. We sit there waiting for our chance to do it, and then we do it right. You're going to get this opportunity to work on something like this, you better do it right.
That's
Y'all
great.
are going to kill us.
Thank you so much, guys.
You're welcome.
Hi. Well, I've noticed that you have like 3 generations of voice acting in your cast. I mean, some really big influences on me. Might I ask who's the voice director on this project?
That was Renee? I think so, yeah. There's a studio in Burbank, Igloo Studios, and it's pretty much the house of like Disney character voices, and they do like all sorts of all the casting for like sound-alikes and you know. I know one of the guys, Carlos Alzaraki, he was Rocco from Rocco's Modern Life. He also does like the sound-alike for Mike Wazowski, and the Disney character voices. They know that these characters have so much history and a lot of fans surrounding them, so they make sure like, whoever they get in the driver's seat is very, very nice.
Yeah, I think Renee Johnson, I think her name is. She also did, what was that, Epic Mickey 2.
Yeah.
So, you know, she's like the head of the Disney character voice, or not the head, but she's very, she's up there. She's very important. Yeah, and she was really awesome to work with, and we just took a back seat. She took the lead, so.
We let you there.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. My name is just for Jake. I love your music on Adventure Time.
Sweet.
You know, best music ever. My question was, like you said, that you were making the ranges for the game. What kind of inspiration did you draw from? You made like the mining, more jazzy type, and stuff like that.
Oh,
on DuckTales.
On DuckTales.
Did you draw inspiration from the cartoon and the video game itself, or did you just go on your own?
I basically, whenever I do a game remix generally, especially if it's for like a remake like this, I try to ask myself, what was the original Japanese composer thinking? What were they shooting for? Because they only had the limitations, you know, the square waves and stuff. I do NES music myself as a hobbyist, and so I know very, very clearly that you can't always get the exact genre that you want. Sometimes you need a guitar lead, and you have to imitate that with, you know, with a blip and a bleep. And it can be very challenging to pull that off. And Capcom were some of the best at it. The guitar leads, you can tell that's a guitar solo right there. And so I tried to ask myself, you know, what were they shooting for genre-wise? What were they trying to make? And I think for the Mines, for example, it was to me clearly just a funk track, like a jam in my head. And I've actually heard it exactly as you hear it in the video. It's been in my head like that for like 15 years. So all I had to say was write it down, and that's what I did.
Inspired from the original game.
Yeah, it's very, very much entirely inspired from the original game. However, we have cinematics, and they have an original orchestral soundtrack. And I took that directly from the style of the show, which, might add, was almost impossible, because some of the original music from the show was brilliant, unbelievably brilliant stuff, like some of the best on TV ever. So, you know, no pressure. Right?
And one more thing is, you talk about the CD being hopefully released commercially or possibly.
Do you have time for the guy?
We want so bad.
We can't talk about that.
Okay, cool.
I really wanted it.
I'm sorry, there's only one guy left, but yeah, he's the last question.
Thanks so much for doing this panel. There's so much care and detail put into this game, the artwork, the animation. One thing I noticed when I was playing the game, you guys went through the trouble of getting all these amazing voice actors. One little thing I thought was almost unnerving was there's no animation around the dialogue. I was wondering, but it seemed completely intentional because everything else is fantastic.
Yeah, to be completely honest, the voices was a bit of a late ad. So Disney was like, hey, you know, it'd be awesome. We could really turn the dial up on this and be voice acting. We didn't have the resources to pull it off.
And they said, do you want to do that? It's like, yes.
Disney added it, and it was like, unfortunately,
I mean, just with the time and budget we had.
It's like a time and budget thing, and we just didn't have time.
You didn't want to do like a 2 frames, like a mouth.
We approached it like it was maybe a Super Nintendo RPG, where it's like, you know, that was the idea, where the focus could be on listen to the voices, the characters doing an action that represents it, and just kind of focusing on like a 16-bit RPG style.
Yeah, we were either going to have the budget to make it look awesome, or we're not going to do it. So.
And then they're like, hey, sound guys, your workload just quadrupled. Put 8,000 5,000 files in our game.
All right, thank you for coming to Conference.